Hello, and welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to defer millions of dollars in capital gains tax on the sale of primary homes, businesses, cryptocurrencies, save a failed 1031 exchange, so you can create and preserve more wealth. Hi, I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and leadership minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on Expertcraft which we appreciate everyone there as well. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. For over 23 years, he has traveled 4 continents and personally trained over 1 million people in over 48 countries. He's a world-class speaker, corporate trainer, and he is a philanthropist investor, which is a lot of philanthropy and giving back. He has mentored entrepreneurs and business owners on specific and measurable strategies. These strategies have then been implemented into businesses and increase income, transform obstacles into cash flow, and turn passion into profits, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Darren Jacklin. Darren, how you doing today?
Hey, Brett, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for allowing me to make a difference.
Absolutely. And you're coming out of Vancouver, Canada. So excited to be connected with you here today. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, sure. I'll share a little bit about my backstory. I grew up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada. I was a kid who was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability growing up, failed grade 1 of public school, and then was determined that I should be in special education classes. So from grade 1 to grade 12, I was in special education. But the interesting twist to this was when I was 7 years of age, I created my first little company called Rent-A-Kid. Would go out and look for opportunity zones in my neighborhood by cutting grass, shoveling sidewalks, delivering newspapers. And by the time I was 9 years of age, hired my best friends in my neighborhood to come work with me. And 40 years later, we're still great friends. And then went through school, barely passed public high school, and then did multiple suicide attempts to end my life. And ended up being in a Dale Carnegie and a Toastmasters training program back in the early 1990s. Got some great mentors into my life, kind of giving you the fast track version of the backstory. And that allowed me to reshape, refocus my mindset, and went off to build a very successful corporate training business globally. Trained, developed over 1 million people. Used to make over 400 cold calls a day, 2,000 cold calls a week. Over a 5-year period, made over 100,000 cold calls. Most of them were rejection and no calls. And that launched me. And so today, currently, I serve on multiple different paid boards of directors of public and private companies. One company I helped take from a startup company with a few hundred people as a team member to now a multi-billion-dollar company that's a publicly traded company on NASDAQ with almost 70,000 people globally in 18 countries on 5 continents. And I have a portfolio of companies that I'm actively and passively involved with, and very actively involved right now currently and rolling up accounting firms across the United States of America through a company I'm a partner in called Profitopia. So we're buying accounting firms. We're solving a big problem. We have over 100,000 CPAs right now over the next 8 years are going to retire as baby boomers. The average age of a baby boomer CPA right now is 57 years of age in the United States. So we're acquiring these cash flow producing businesses to roll them up into one big parent company of Profitopia. So what I focus on now is profit for people. I've committed, Tatiana and I, love of my life, we've committed $100 million over the next 10 years through our family foundation for global philanthropy projects, through our Link Foundation, and through Link Leadership Academy, which is our first school right now over in Liberia, West Africa. So we're buying companies, we're growing and scaling companies and advising companies, and having a lot of fun with that, and building great teams of people, because most of our goals and dreams do not require our actions. So as we transition into 2022, it's something to be mindfully aware of, that most of our goals and dreams do not require our actions. So we're having a great time making a difference.
Amazing, Darren. I absolutely love that. And I want to dive into transforming obstacles into cash flow, and also talking about most of our goals and dreams do not require actions, and really understand that. But before we go into all of that, by the way, you can find more about Darren Jacklin right now by going to darrenjacklin.com. That's darrenjacklin.com. I want to take one other step back. You
Sure.
touched on your childhood and some of the challenges you had to overcome. And, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Some people call them strengths, some people call them superpowers. I believe they're God-given gifts, and they've been given to us to, again, be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, what are those 1 or 2 gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Great question. I think at a young age, because I was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and reading disability, and I felt socially awkward. I felt invisible. I never felt good enough or smart enough. I had very low self-worth and a very low self-image. I think what I really discovered is that as human beings, if we're up in the International Space Station looking down on planet Earth and we see all these human beings on this planet, and we were to map everybody together, what we discover is that all we are is a network of conversations. And what I've discovered is I'm a connector. Everything that we really, really, really want in our lives is going to come from strangers. But we're taught from our environments growing up as children, don't talk to strangers. During COVID-19 and during the lockdown and social distancing, we're taught keep our distance from people. But the key thing is everything that we want in our lives is going to come from having conversations through a network of conversations with other people. And so the key thing is what I've discovered in my life is that anything that you really, really, really want in your life is going to come from opening your mouth and having conversations with other people and building relationship equity so people get to know you and like you and trust you. So what I'm really, really good at is connecting with people and having conversations with people. And I used to be really scared, but I took training and development through Dale Carnegie, through Toastmasters, through reading books, taking courses, getting mentors and coaches. And so you got to start small and take it, baby steps over a period of time, but realizing that there's, we don't have money problems in life. There's no lack of financial capital on this planet. I have a lot of friends of mine that have money problems. They have so much money they're making through multiple revenue streams, actively and passively. They don't know what to do with it in terms of deployment and of allocation. So the key thing is to realize is that it's your mindset of who you spend time with, who you get around. And I think a big breakthrough that I discovered early on in my life, because I didn't have the academia behind me. I didn't have the academia smarts. I barely passed public high school, but I learned something very young through pain and through adversity. And what I discovered as a life lesson was the who and the how. The who and the how. Always remember this. Most people, whenever they're thinking about doing something, they think, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to afford that? How can I finance that? How can I buy a new house? How can I buy a new car? How am I going to get this promotion? How am I going to get a job? How am I going to be able to travel? How? It's not about the how. That's what the masses of the population think. That's low-level thinking. The high-level thinking is who. Who can be on your life team that you can call out of your mobile phone and you can have a conversation with him or her and get access to an opportunity zone to open up. So always look at it's not what you know, it's who you know, it's who they know that knows you. It's the who and not the how. So when you think about how to do things, you're not going to get too far in life. You start thinking about who and how you can leverage that through social capital, relationship capital, you will grow and scale very, very quickly. And that's something I'm blessed in my life now to have a portfolio of companies and a group of companies and things like that. Is I focused on building teams and teamwork, but I focused on the who versus focused on the how.
Excellent. So if I'm capturing that, it's connection with people and overcoming through adversity and through training and through leadership. And I mean, the cold calls is incredible. We got to touch on that here sure. A little bit in the show. But pushing through, and I would say that relentless drive to overcome and become who you are now is the gift. And then number two, recognizing that it's the who, not the how, right? Another way you could put it is hire the who or add value to enough who's that you can rely on them and they know you enough and you know them enough where you can pick up the phone and connect. Is that a fair summary so far?
For sure, you betcha. Yeah, because the key thing is getting around influential people that are playing at a higher level than you personally, professionally. If you're the smartest person in a room, in your company or business or organization, you're going to a conference or a workshop or a seminar, you're in the wrong room. If you're in a room where you're the most financially successful, you're in the wrong room. If you're in the best room where you've got things that are like, man, I feel great, you're in the wrong room. Another thing is too, what I've discovered from my experience is that whatever you lack in skill, you make it up in numbers. Quick example. When I was a kid growing up, I had really low self-confidence, didn't believe in myself, but was really interested in girls, as a teenager. So what I used to do is in Canada here, I used to take 10 Canadian pennies and put 10 Canadian pennies in my left pocket. Every time I'd say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or hello or hi to a girl, I would transfer secretly a penny from my left pocket to my right pocket. So I played this game. And the key thing is adults, you need to play games. So what I do is when I'm in business, I always play games. It's all about metricing. So like a lot of times people in sales and business, it's all about, how many leads they're getting. I don't metric leads, I metric conversations. How many conversations am I having with people on a daily or hourly or weekly basis? And I start to metric the conversations because conversations, by just going out there and having conversations with people, lead to contracts. And so it's something different mindset or strategy, but if you do it consistently over a period of time, you'll get different results. And so Again, I had to learn differently from a street smart level because I didn't have all the ways that a lot of other people had in terms of college and university and stuff like that. So I learned to keep things very simple, but very practical, but very measurable in terms of results.
Absolutely. I want to pull out on that idea of the people you're surrounding yourself with, and and trying to get get better leaders and smarter people in the room so you can level up. Everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yes.
And to our ability to become better leader, we need to be around those who are ahead of us, who can guide us, who can lead us into a higher level of our leadership, right? And so that just makes sense. And so how are you getting yourself in the room? How are you doing that? How are you adding value? How are you connecting in that way? And that's what we're going to be talking about right now, transforming obstacles into cash flow. So someone might say, hey, Darren, that's really hard to get into those rooms, right? Or how did you get into those rooms? Like, can you tell us a little bit of your story and how that worked and then how you grew that into your businesses, into cash flow?
I'll show you something practically right here in my home office here.
Let's go.
So I have a must-meet list. So this is 100 people on this list. So, you see in the news media, they have the America's Most Wanted list. This is a must-meet list. So I had a virtual assistant, cost me a couple $100. And I hired a virtual assistant to actually put this all together, do all the research for me, and create a must-meet list. Every time I meet one of these people, I put a star beside their name. And so the key thing is these are all influencers. Some of them have passed away now in the last year or so, but I have multiple must-meet list boards. And so the key thing is your target is who do you want to get access to? So who are you studying, who are you reading, who are you learning about, who's trending right now, who's influential, these men and women, and then how can you get access to them? So somebody that you respect and admire in your industry or you see on media attention or on the internet, you're thinking, man, I'd love to meet with that person and have access to that person because proximity is power. So what I do is I play a game and it's a contact game because networking is a contact sport. So what I do is I create my must meet list. And if you want to see it, it's in the book. I actually have it in the back of the book here, the must meet list in my book I created called Until I Become, to show people visually what it looks like. But the key thing is think about going forward, what's the ideal lifestyle that you want to live on your terms? Like when you see people out in public or on the internet or on the media, who are these people? And what if you get access to spend time with these people? Because all we are is a network of conversations. That's all we are as human beings. We're a network of conversations. When you realize that anything you really want in your life is going to come from strangers, we're just a network of conversations. So the key thing is that what I do is I put these people on my must meet list, as you see back there on the wall. And then I just start having conversations with people and saying, this is what I'm committed to. I want to meet these people. And, everybody has a chiropractor, a massage therapist, a doctor, everybody knows because back in 1967, Stanley Milgram did a wonderful case study called the Law of 6 Degrees of Separation. And what Stanley Milgram discovered is that we were 6 degrees of separation from everybody on planet Earth. Now, because of the internet and social media, we're now less than 3 degrees of separation from anybody on planet Earth. So the key thing is that we live in a world of connectivity. And so first of all, is write down on paper, who do you want to meet? And then start thinking about your life and follow them on social media. Who's following them? Who's interacting with them? Who's engaging with them? And you'd be amazed in a very short period of time. I take my iPhone and I put people's names in my phone who I've never met yet. And I play this game. And within 12 to 24 months, I start meeting these people because the mindset is I'm acting as if I've already met them. So I'm building a personal relationship like as if I already know them. And I start to follow these people in terms of what's some points of interest, what's their birthday, what's their wedding anniversary, what's their spouse or partner, significant other, what's their name, what's their children's names, what are things that matter most to these people. So when I meet these people, I can pull up information on them and tell you all kinds of data points on them. So if I have to sneak off to a restroom, if I walk into a charity event or an airport and there's that person I want to meet who's on my must meet list, or I'm on an airplane and, oh my gosh, there's so-and-so who's on my must meet list, I can excuse myself for a couple minutes, look at my phone, look at my data points, like, oh my gosh, now I know how to go up to that person and start to establish and build rapport so they get to know me and like me and trust me about building relationship equity. Because I want to be relational and not transactional. I want to be memorable versus forgettable.
Amazing. So much wisdom there. And I want to think of maybe we can bring this to life now, right? So
Sure.
You're identifying it. You're in a sense, creating a way to track that and to have some fun with it, creating like a game, right? And then you're studying and reading and learning about these folks, right? And they're inspiring you, but you're thinking, hey, look, if I can get in the room and I can build rapport and I can learn from somebody and I can connect with somebody, I'm going to level up my leadership. I'm going to level up my ability to make a difference in more people's lives. That's a fair summary so far, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's talk about maybe a fun one, like where you're like, oh, the chances of me meeting this person, or give us kind of maybe the one that's just like,
Well, I'll give you an
you,
example. I'll give you a
yeah,
real life example. So
yeah,
I live here in Vancouver, Canada, and a famous singer named Sarah McLachlan. A lot of people know Sarah McLachlan. If you don't know her name, you would know her music. It's been in many movies. It's on the media. I mean, it's on the radio stations all the time. You'd recognize her songs if you live here around the world. So I'm going hiking with my dog, right? And here in Vancouver, Canada. And in the last couple months, I've run into her 6 times on the hiking trails. Okay, 6 times. Because what I believe that when you have the right energy and you're at the right mindset and you're thinking, you'll attract that person into your life. Prime example is, somebody in your life, person professionally, you haven't seen them or talked to them for a while, and all of a sudden they call you out of the blue. Or all of a sudden you're on social media and they reach out and connect with you. So I believe there's no coincidences with that. This is my own personal belief from my own experiences in life. So Sarah McLachlan is one person, for example. I was recently on an airplane, and somebody I've been wanting to meet for a number of years was somebody was on the airplane. I was at an event here a couple of years ago, and I've always wanted to meet Michael Gerber, the guy who wrote the book called The E-Myth. Here I walk into a room in Sarasota, Florida, USA, and here he is in the same room, sitting right beside me, him and his wife. So you just never know. I'm at a charity event in New York City a few years ago, and I walk in, and here's the founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz and his family. So, at the same table as I'm at, like, what are the odds of that? So you just never know who you're going to get a chance to get around and who you meet. And what I do is I used to screw it up when I used to meet people. I used to pitch and sell people. So when I was out raising money and doing things like that, I'd pitch and sell, and I'd turn people off and turn people away from me. And what I discovered through my adversities and challenges of being flat broke at times financially was when I pitched and sold, I repelled people. But when I sat there and I got related to people and I started to educate and inform people, because people can make an intelligent decision on their own. They don't need me to figure out things for them. They're smart people. I discovered that it's much different experience. And so don't pitch and sell people on your business idea or opportunity for raising capital for your company. Educate and inform people so they get to know you and like you and trust you. Become relational. A lot of people, they'll friend request me on social media, on LinkedIn as an example. I'll accept the friend request, and then boom, they're pitching me on some cryptocurrency or some opportunity. I don't even know you. I don't even like you. I don't even trust you. I haven't even built any relationship with you. It's like a one-night stand. Like, build a relationship with me. Start to journey with me. Get to build that rapport with me. So I just delete them. And so a lot of people are transactional today, and then they wonder why they're not succeeding. And I used to do that in my life. I was very transactional. I was flat broke all the time, always struggling. And when I started to become relational, so people get to know me, like me, and trust me, build that relationship equity, things started changing my life. Because if you will change, everything will change for you.
Beautiful. So it's transforming obstacles into cash flow. It may be a better title would be transforming, let's say, relational capital and building and giving and getting to know somebody into opportunities to serve more people and create more cash flow or build more business. Is that maybe a better
So
title?
I'll give you an example. Transforming obstacles into cash flow. So here's the first thing to understand. We don't have money problems in life. There's no lack of money. It's a thinking problem. It's not a money problem. It's a thinking problem. There's no lack of money. I can take anybody. I do work all over the world in third world countries, first world, second world countries. I've been in some of the most impoverished countries on planet Earth, teaching people how to make money. The fastest path to money making is, number one, is identify a problem. So when I was a kid in my rent-a-kid business, I went and knocked on doors, looking at who's got my money. They needed their driveway shoveled in the wintertime with snow. I would cut grass, rake leaves, remove junk, paint fences, find different ways I could do different odd jobs. So the first thing to look for is the fast path to cash is look around your home and look at all the things that you aren't using that you could repurpose and monetize for cash. For goodwill, a yard sale, garage sale, an online sale. What are things, golf clubs, tools, computer appliances, purses, handbags, shoes, things that you're not using. It's just taking up clutter or space in where you live. Repurpose it, gift it away, or give it away to somebody with no expectations and watch how things will come back to you because the law of reciprocity, right? Or karma, or sowing and reaping. There's that. Another thing to look at is we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. Is look at what we call opportunity zones. So if you and I were to sit down and watch CNN News right now, I would get really excited. Why? I wouldn't get depressed or feel negative. I think, oh my gosh, look at all these challenges and problems that CNN News is talking about today. Because the key thing is turning the crisis into an opportunity zone. That's the key thing. And so when somebody's in your lunchroom or somebody's on, in your family that's complaining about things, how can you turn that crisis into an opportunity zone and get paid for it? So what I used to do is I used to always want to travel the world. I love traveling. It's very high on my value list to travel. And I always say to myself as a daily affirmation, I get paid handsomely to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do. I get paid handsomely to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do. And I have 120 affirmations that I say every day to myself. And one of the things I discovered was rather than me saying, how can I financially save up money or Aeroplan points to afford to travel? I changed my mindset to saying, how do I get paid to travel? How do I get paid to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do? Right. And so I would write down in my journal ways that I can get paid to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do. And that was speaking at conferences, conventions, workshops, seminars, serving on different boards of directors and advisory boards of companies. So the key thing is that wherever you are geographically live on the planet, look around your neighborhood and look at problems that you can solve or challenges you can solve and create opportunities. That's all it is it's opportunity zones. So right now during COVID-19, is people are, I've done extremely well the last couple of years during COVID. Why? Because I just see opportunity zones everywhere. Where people are complaining, I see opportunity.
Phenomenal. And as a part of that, you mentioned, I think, Profitopia, 100,000 CPAs that are retiring. They're about 57 years old in the average age. And there's a big opportunity to consolidate and buy these cash flowing producing businesses. So talk to us a little bit about that, because here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions help people defer capital gains tax, right? And so we love working with CPA. So give us kind of the vision for that, how it's going, what the biggest obstacle is, and then where the opportunity is for those who are looking to get accounting services.
Yeah. Well, so one of the big obstacles we're facing right now is to acquire these companies, we need cash, right? So we have people in my network, private investors. So we pay 15% annual return with a monthly interest payment on the 15th day of each calendar month over 3-year terms. And so now we're sorting through who we want to take money through because it's an attractive offer. It's very de-risked because it's accounting firms. It's a very boring industry. And we're actually buying companies. So here's a takeaway for people to write down. It's easier to acquire cash flow than to create it. So it's easier to buy cash flow or easier to acquire cash flow. So a lot of times people go and create startup companies that are high risk and they go to friends and family to raise money or crowdfunding. And there's a very high level of chance of failure in the first few years because there's a lot of liftoff you got to get with cash and hiring people and selling products and services and growing and scaling your company. So you can already buy an existing company out there that somebody wants to retire or somebody's going through a family matter or a health issue, whatever it is, and you can buy his or her company, and they've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years of financials that they can show you in a data room as part of the discovery and due diligence process. So what we're doing right now is we're disrupting and solving in this accounting world in the United States of America. Is one of the companies I'm involved with, Profitopia.com. I'm a partner in Profitopia.com. Is we're now acquiring CPA firms. So we're buying the companies that have been around for years. We're retiring these accountants with their transition plan and their exit strategy. Some will hire them back as employees. And then we take all those clients and we roll them up into Profitopia. And then what we do is we introduce what we call ancillary services, which then helps with retention of our clients. Because the number one reason why people leave an accounting firm is they outgrow the accountant. And I speak to many people frequently who outgrow their accountants all the time as their company's growing and scaling or they're going through a liquidity event. So every quarter, we do a quarterly business review in Profitopia, where 2 days we meet every 90 days in person, where all the Profitopia clients come and they can come in person and we meet and they can network and collaborate and we solve the problems by collaborating like a mastermind group. We bring in guest experts that are qualified, verified results people, and we spend 2 days in an experiential training environment. So nobody else does that in the industry. Nobody else provides all these ancillary services. So we found ways through our research in terms of looking at this of how we can change a very boring company or very boring industry rather, and turn it into a sexy industry that really makes a difference. And so we'll be a dominant force called Profitopia in the next couple of years, right across the US and possibly Canada, because we're doing what's right by taking care of the consumer, the client, and helping them solve their challenges and problems, which most CPA firms don't do. They just do your year-end tax returns or some do your bookkeeping or accounting or payroll.
Amazing. And by the way, for those who don't know, and I'll just let everyone know, Darren is also a board member on with Exp World Holdings, and I imagine a lot of what you've learned there and how that company has transformed. I'm also, full disclosure, I'm a part of EXP as well, part of the EXP family, EXP Commercial. Proud and love it, absolutely amazing. That's where I got a chance to meet Darren in person in the Las Vegas EXP Con event just about a month ago. And so I'm wondering, what's the number one secret for EXP World Holdings that you've learned over the years about being on the board that you're applying to Profitopia?
Great question. If you take care of the people in the company, they'll take care of the if you take care of the people in the organization, they'll take care of the company. And so the key thing is our customers or clients are our brokers and our agents. We love all over them. And what we focus on is, what are they solving for? What are their needs, wants, and desires? What's their frustrations? What's their pain points? What keeps them up at night? How can they not just be commissioned salespeople as real estate agents, but how can we help them create generational wealth? How can we help grow their self-image and their self-confidence and their belief in themselves? How can we have them to have not only a return on investment, but also an ROE, return on energy, and return on life? And how can they be location dependent and virtual? And that's what we do, is we create our core values, but also create a culture that's different than other real estate models throughout the world. And so we create a unique value proposition to really bring people in, because I'm a big believer that without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability without integrity. First thing is a core value. Second thing is, time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time whether you get promoted or get exposed. So we metric everything through what we call NPS, Net Promoter Scores, and what we call KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. Because if you metric and collect the data on everything, the data will tell you what to do. And then communication, being frequently in the trenches all the time with the agents and brokers, having conversations, breakfast, lunches, and dinners with them, meeting with them all the time, finding out what are their biggest challenges, frustrations, problems, and how do we help solve them, so we can create our culture and our ecosystem that serves them and protects them and has their back, but also allows us to grow and expand. And that's why you look at our results. I joined EXP back in 2013 as an independent board of directors member with a couple hundred people as a little private little company. We're building airplanes, we're flying it. Today, we're almost at 70,000 people in 18 countries on 5 continents and publicly traded on NASDAQ. And we're a multi-billion-dollar company today. And as you know, just a month ago, we publicly declared we'll be at 500,000 real estate agents within 5 years. That's the stretch goal for us, right? So we're excited about that as a team, as a global team, as a global family, to make that happen, to solve problems and to make a difference in people's lives.
One team, one dream, Darren. Yeah. And I just, 5 years ago, I was approached, and I was in Sacramento, and it kind of started maybe a little more on the West Coast. It kind of built up out of Seattle, out of Washington, and then moved on. And I didn't look at it, right? And I kind of dismissed it. I'm like, I'm commercial, I'm capital gains tax deferral, and I didn't really meet with anybody. I kind of dismissed it. And then a year and a half ago, I got approached by a good friend, and he said, hey, this thing is not only real, but it's a movement, right? And it's like nothing that's ever happened before. And he's a really respected, he's a golf coach at William Jessup University, where I played basketball there. So I'd known him for years. He was at Keller Williams. I was Marcus and Millichap. Anyways, long story short, I said, you know what? I'm going to trust and have faith that what you're saying is real, but I'm going to be very skeptical and be the tortoise. I'm not going to recruit anybody. I'm just going to go, I'm going to sell real estate. I'm going to sell capital gain. I'm going to sell a deferred sales trust. And he, no problem. And I went in, Darren, and I just watched, and I was like a fly on the wall. And I attended some of the masterminds, and I started attending some of the leadership events, and I started just to absorb the culture, the environment, everything you're talking about, what keeps, real estate agents up at night, and what is it about it that's stopping them from growing or getting the wants and the desires that they want. And I just saw just the most amazing empowerment, encouragement, model, finances, organization. And I fell in love with the company. And in like 90 days, I was like, oh my goodness. And now I can't stop back telling people about it. And like, oh my gosh, and don't make the same mistake I made in that 5 years ago. I didn't look at it. I didn't go to it. So what's the one thing that, for anyone who's listening, who's a real estate professional, by the way, business brokers now, right? Commercial real estate brokers, and that's what I am, a commercial real estate broker, right? As well as founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. What's the one thing that if you could share with somebody and about considering joining, and let's say taking off the pride hat, right, and putting an open mind hat on?
Yeah. Well, so as people are going through the discovery and their due diligence process, I totally understand. You're a top performer, top producing agent in your company that you're in right now. And for you to make that big move is, a reputational risk, could be an ego risk as well. once you do your numbers and do a financial comparison, which I ask people to do, look at your business model and plan right now, sit down with your CPA and look at a comparison between our business model and the business model you're currently with. And then also look at the training development and the support that you got. Are you actually solving for generational wealth building? Are you having conversations to grow and scale yourself personally and professionally? And that's the key thing is our ecosystem within eXp Realty is a collaborative environment. We're relational versus transactional. And the key thing with us is that, we're one global family, one global brokerage, as I like to call it. So we share best practices. Another thing I really love is about our leadership team, our founder, Glenn Sanford. If you don't know who he is, I encourage you to do a deep dive on this guy and put him on your radar for 2022, 2023 going forward, and just absorb everything that he's got online, whether it's on YouTube, it's media reports, anything you see, social media, do a deep dive into him. The guy's a genius. I've worked very closely with him over the number of years, but he used to be a top producing licensed real estate agent here in North America. He was a top producing agent, and he just got frustrated with the lack of innovation and growth because a lot of these real estate companies are stagnant. There's not a lot of growth. They're run by accountants and lawyers, great people for compliance. But you've got real estate agents that are a unique breed of men and women that have a different mindset and how they think. They like to push the boundaries, right? They're innovators. They like to grind and hustle. And so the thing is part of your discovery and due diligence, really notice your gut or your intuition of how do you feel in the environment. Do you feel like somebody's got your back? Do they support you? Do they want to see you achieve your goals and dreams for your family and what you're solving for in your life? And that's important. Is our environment is very contagious. It's competitive, but competitive in a different way. It's competitive to help you grow and develop, not competitive in terms of lack and scarcity. It's competitive in terms of abundance and prosperity. And, myself with a corporate training background of 25 years globally, I had a chance to go to many different conferences and conventions in the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, all over the world, trained a lot of these real estate companies. So I've been in, their corporate events and their boardrooms and their national conferences and regional conferences. And so I've got a chance to have my feet on the ground. Plus, I'm also a real estate investor. I have a portfolio of single family homes and multiple different investments that I have in the real estate space. So I've never been a licensed real estate agent, but I've been a real estate investor and I've bought and sold lots of different homes over the years. So what I love about this model is the culture that we have and the core values. And again, our business model is not for everyone. That's why I encourage you to go through discovery and due diligence. But for people who have heart, they have integrity, they're ethical people, and they want to grow and develop, and they want to serve their communities, serve the nation, serve the world, and make a difference and help their families. It's a great, unique business model that I encourage people to check out. And because we're growing very fast.
Absolutely, Darren. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if anyone's listening to this and wants to hear my story, you can go to expertsecrets.com. You might have heard that during the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. We're also streaming there as well. And that's part of my story. That's part of my background. It's part of my love of commercial real estate brokerage. It's where I started. And it's just such a inspiring thing. And one thing I kept finding with EXP is every leader and agent that it was collaboration, it was culture, it was everyone sharing their secrets to help one another succeed and make a bigger impact for more people. And I had never seen that anywhere to that level. I mean, there is always slices of that here and there, but to have it such as a big technology platform, entrepreneurial platform, real estate sales, so many things. I always say, I feel like you can't put EXP in a box, right? And you can't just, it's really, it's living, breathing, and growing in a way like nothing I've seen before in my short, small 2006 starting in commercial real estate background. So that being said, we got to transition to the lightning round. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
Without integrity, nothing works. Always maintain your integrity. It's a key thing. If you're late to a meeting, you stop the meeting, you apologize, and restore your integrity before you start the meeting. Because in the back of people's minds, they're not going to tell you, but in the back of their mind, they're questioning, are you somebody that they can trust? Are you somebody who's reliable? Another thing is time will promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time. Do things in your life through daily disciplines, daily habits, daily routines. Hang out with people that you will get promoted over time, not get exposed. So you can get around people who circumvent things and lack integrity and things like that, lack disciplines and things like that. But over time, you'll get exposed versus get promoted.
Excellent. Second question, it has to do with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki book, right? Which I imagine you might have read.
Changed my life.
Yeah, and so and we try to really encourage people to practice the habits of that rich dad poor dad strategy. So what's the one, habit you're trying to really implement on a quarterly, daily, weekly basis for your business and building wealth?
Well, in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, or a second book called Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki, he talks about rich people don't work for money. They work to acquire stable monthly recurring income producing assets. And so the key thing is it's passive income. And so the key thing I'm always working for is how do I generate more and more passive income, profit for people? Because I've dedicated my life to global philanthropy. So I love building financial wealth, but I'm building right now for a 250-year legacy plan through Link Foundation. So we're building right now for a 250-year legacy plan. So I'm always forward thinking. So the big thing for me is study the 4 quadrants that Robert Kiyosaki talks about: the employee, self-employed, business owner, investor, and make sure you start to invest a lot of time into the investor quadrant, because that will set you free. Stop working for money and start to work for income producing assets.
Beautiful. Next question has to do with the biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral or the 1031 exchange, right? I'm curious, when it comes to selling cryptocurrency, public or private stock, businesses, real estate, what's been the biggest frustration you've seen as it pertains to capital gains tax deferral or the 1031 exchange when it comes to trading real estate?
Good point. I'm a Canadian, so a little bit tax system, they're a little different, but we do stuff in the United States. I have a team of professionals around me that advise me, so I'm not into it with the day-to-day details. I just kind of get the high-level executive summary or overview. I think the biggest thing is getting people around you that have the right information, that are current with information in terms of frustration, and also building people around you that are not just looking for the billable hours or billable time. They come with really great information. Because as you start to go into this thing and you start to build success or build financial wealth, there's lots of people out there who want to sell you their products and services more in terms of selling products and services than actually giving the right information. So I think for my biggest pain point and frustration is getting people around me who I like and trust and respect that they are best in class in terms of their information and it's current information. Because I've got some information people over the years that are smart people, but it's not current and relevant information.
Excellent. Very well said. Next question. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Exit Rich is a great book called Exit Rich. A lot of people who are transitioning now as baby boomers. Exit Rich is a great book. And another great book I read, Exit Rich would be the top one.
Yeah, and that's Michelle Sally Tucker, by the way.
You know her?
And by the way, she just joined EXP Commercial, and she's a part of my EXP.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Family in line. I don't know if you knew that, Darren. Yeah, but when we were in Vegas all together, we were hanging out, so that's a big deal. And we're
small world.
Yeah, it's a small world, and we're also
a network of conversations.
It's a network of conversations, right? And she'll actually be on the show on Monday. We're doing a show, and anyways, it's
let her know I said hello.
That's great. I will. Second to last question. What are you most curious about right now?
Most curious about right now is really solving. As the world right now, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unrest. A lot of people right now. And the next generation, I speak at a lot of universities and colleges and high schools as a way to give back through our foundation. And I go and gift books to all the students, and they don't have clarity. They don't have focus. They don't have direction. And so that's a big thing that right now is really giving some guidance and some wisdom to really show people, these young men and women, because there's so many different options of where they go today. And, with automation and artificial intelligence and outsourcing, a lot of these young men and women are lost today of where to go and what field and what category to go into. And so to me, it's how do we, educate and inform the next generation so they can make informed decisions to choose wisely of where they want to go and not chase these shiny objects, be focused and disciplined in what they do. And also to train and develop them, that it takes a lot of hard work. I got to where I am today through a lot of adversities and failures and challenges and setbacks. It's not been easy, long hours, long days, and thousands of hours with no guarantee. And a lot of times people today see people on social media and on YouTube videos, they've got this car or this jet or these things like that. And they look like they're overnight successes, but they don't see how that's staged and it's not true. And it gives people false hope. And where you get a chance to get around people who've really put in the hard work, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of sacrifice. And you've got to commit to your commitments and keep your word and be an integrity of things. And when you fall short, you got to restore your integrity. But you're going to want a lot of quit a lot of times, because in life, a lot of people, they want the pleasure, but they'd also all want to endure the pain at the same time. And you're going to have both pain and pleasure along your journey to whatever you're going to do in your career, your life, your family. You're going to have pain and pleasure. You're going to get hugged and you're going to get slugged. You're going to get kissed. You're going to get kicked. You're going to get support. You're going to get challenged. But also understand that you have to have pain to have pleasure, and you're going to have both. And a lot of times people don't want the pain. They want to just have the pleasure. They want to have the goodies, but they don't want to put in the hard work and the sacrifices and the rejection to get those goodies.
Yeah, there's probably like 3 or 4 books that we could you could probably write on all of the wisdom you've been sharing with us, Darren, which comes to our very last question. And it's the one habit that you try to practice every day to help you stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to charge forward to new heights. So what's that one daily habit that you want to leave us with today?
So I write out my personal promises. It's right here. I have a list of my personal promises. So every year I write out my top 10 personal promises, personally and professionally. I don't call them goals or dreams. I call them personal promises because now it's a personal accountability. And so every morning as a daily habits non-negotiable, I write out in my journal my top 10 personal promises to myself every day and every night. I write them out a minimum of 730 times a calendar year. Every time I have a setback, a challenge or adversity or disappointment, I actually write them out again. So I actually write them out probably around 780 times a year, my personal promise to myself. And that's why I have a high level of achievement of hitting them, because they're in front of me all the time consistently. I'm writing them out through repetition every single day as a non-negotiable habit.
Absolutely love it. Would you share just one of those with us that maybe it's one that's going to be new for 2022 based upon the last year and a half of the world changing in a lot of ways?
So January 28th of 2021, during lockdown of COVID, I was 218 pounds. I was obese and statistically overweight here in Canada. And I realized the gyms are closed. I'm kind of clumsy when it comes to working out. I'm not that kinesthetic. So I created a hiking group with a couple other people. And we started to put into our calendars recurring meetings every Sunday. We dedicated our life to every Sunday. We go out hiking, we'd social distance. And now we hike multiple times a week. When I'm home in Vancouver, I'm not traveling. And I'm down 32 pounds in weight. And so the key thing is, the takeaway from this is whatever you really want to do in your life, if it's not scheduled into your calendar and structured with a reminder, it does not exist in your life. So whatever you really, really want to do personally, professionally, if it's date nights, if it's travel, it's trips, whatever it is, if you don't schedule into your calendar, it doesn't exist into your life. So one of the things I always share with people when they want to, in terms of transforming obviously the cash flow, people say, Darren, I want to make more money in 2022. Great. Show me in your calendar over the next 7 days, where have you scheduled revenue generating activities, wealth building activities, income producing activities? Where are you scheduled and you've time blocked in your calendar that you're focused on income producing activities? Because if you don't have revenue generating activities scheduled in your calendar, you're going to do other things that are not revenue generating. You're going to do things that are not income producing.
Darren Jacklin, it's been more than a pleasure. Wow, I haven't had this long of a podcast in a while. Your energy and your wisdom and your content, we couldn't get away. So I appreciate all the listeners staying for the 42 minutes and plus here. For listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, you can always Google my name, Darren Jacklin, or go to darrenjacklin.com. We're going to be updating the site soon, but you got darrenjacklin.com. And if you Google me under Darren Jacklin, you'll also find our family foundation called Link Foundation. You'll see what we're doing in terms of global philanthropy around the planet. And if you want, you can also order the book, Until I Become. It came out to serve humanity. It's less than 100 pages. And it's a book that shows you practical tips. And there's no filler or fluff in it. You get the steak, not the sizzle. Because to me, is the juice worth the squeeze? And so to me, the juice is worth the squeeze. That's why I did the book, because I wanted to pay it forward and pass it on to make a difference in humanity. Because to what I want, what's in it for me, is I want to collect the stories of how it made a difference in people's lives.
Amazing. Darren Jacklin, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to encourage you to keep using the connection, your gift of connecting with people and overcoming adversity. And then, hiring or bringing in the who versus trying to be the how, because of all of the network of conversations is really what this connection of people and life is about. So thank you so much for being on the show. And also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, and overcoming objections and transforming your life through relationships building is the best way for you to grow your wealth. I want to encourage you, if you have any capital gains tax deferral challenges that you want clarity on, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. If you are interested in EXP and you want to know more about my story and the team that we're building across the nation, you can go to expertcresecrets.com. That's expertcresecrets.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Please share this with somebody that could be inspired today. Darren brought the fire, and he brought so much wisdom and inspiration. So please don't let this go without sharing it, liking it, subscribing to the channels, and giving it to someone who it could be a blessing to them. Thank you so much, and we talk to you again